Hi, welcome to Banking with Canvas. I'm Tara Pierce. And if you'll take a look at the bottom left of the screen, you will see the bit.ly for this presentation, as well as a QR code that you can scan to join the presentation. I will be moving back and forth between Canvas and this presentation because I feel like I need to show you step by step within Canvas how to do things. So if you'll scan the QR code or go to the bit.ly and then also get your Canvas open so you can follow along. A little bit about me while you're doing that. I'm an instructional technology facilitator for Richmond County Schools. This is the 7th year I've been a facilitator. I was a classroom teacher for 13 years prior. I'm married, and to my wonderful husband, Martin, we have some fur children. This is Bonnie and Dash and Nugget. All of the tools for today's session, I created a Canvas course that's in the public course index that you can follow along inside of. Everything I build and create will be inside of this course. These are also some how-to step-by-step PDFs. I like to be able to print and follow instructions sometimes. I know we're in a world where nobody ever wants to print, but some of us still like to print things to be able to follow lengthy instructions, and PDFs to me are the easiest way. So I created both of these so that you could follow along on those if you wanted to have those when you build your own banks. Item banks. So why create item banks or question banks? Item banks, new quizzes. Question banks, classic quizzes. I can tell you that. Can the questions be used multiple times and on different quizzes? So these are things to think about while we're working on this presentation and working in this session, and we'll come back to those and share out. The navigation menu, that is your left-hand side menu within Canvas. And so that's where we're going to actually go to now, and we're going to get started. So we're going to talk about district item banks and sharing. Item banks are all in that new quiz format. And of course, I've included a video at the bottom for creating item banks. I can tell you that I did not create this video. I borrowed it from YouTube. This video was very clear, easy to follow and understand. So I felt like I'm not going to recreate the wheel. I'm going to use that video to share that with you all. So I'm going to hop on over to Canvas, and this is my dashboard. And so I have that Banking with Canvas course right here that we're going to get started in. And if you'd like to build inside of your course and follow along with me, you can. So at the top, I have those tools, the PDFs, and this presentation for today. I'll also include the recording, the online recording here after we're complete. But everything, all the examples and things that I build, if I build a actual quiz or import anything, I'll have everything sitting right there under that online recording session module so that you'll know. So navigation on the left. If you've noticed, if your district, which I hope your district has turned on, you should see a new tab called Item Banks. That tab directly links you to Item Banks for the new quiz style. So I'm going to click on Item Banks. So if you notice that over here to the left-hand side, I have this course. I have all banks, institution banks, and banks shared to course. So all banks means banks that have been shared through Canvas, all banks. Institution banks means banks that have been shared within my district. Bank shared to the course, that means I have shared a bank to my course from another course, or banks that I have imported from another course. And then this course, that means banks that I have built in this course. Notice I haven't built a bank in this course yet. You can also search for banks in these areas. Whenever I click on like institution banks or banks, all banks is going to share all the banks that I can see. You notice there's quite a lot. Up top, make sure whenever you start to build, if you want to make sure that your bank's in the course, leave it on this course. And then here, I'm going to say plus a bank. And I actually borrowed a quiz from an online quiz creator that I downloaded as a PDF, and I'm actually going to use some of the questions from there just to make it easy to add questions to my test. So, and for my bank, so you all can see that. So I'm going to name it the name of the quiz, which is Natural Resources. And I'm going to select Create Bank. Whenever you do that, it automatically goes to all banks, and I can go up to the top and search. Now I need to look for that bank. All right, and as soon as I started typing, I can see here's the bank that I created, today's date, and there's no questions there yet. So I'm going, and if I make a mistake or I need to get rid of this, I can also do that from the menu at the end. But I'm just going to click on that Natural Resources. And it tells me there are no questions in the bank yet, but that's okay. I want to get started. I've decided that I wanted to start with my fill in the blank questions. Now, a lot of teachers say they hate filling the blank because it's hard to grade, but I can tell you all with the new question, the new quizzes, this question format is completely different. You actually have 3 options under fill in the blank. A lot of people don't know that, and it has slowly become my most favorite question type because I can turn a multiple choice question into a fill in the blank with these 3 question type options that are under fill in the blank. So I'm going to start with this question type. The question title, that is if I want to number my question. So if I want to have this as 1, 2, 3, 4, or maybe I want to have it by standard or objective. So maybe I wanted to put in that this is NC, like for North Carolina, and this is science, and then the goal, standard, objective that I'm meeting in that question title. That is just an example that makes it easy for anyone across North Carolina to use this and see what goal this question is meeting. I'm going to leave it blank. It is optional. You do not have to have a question title. You have to have the question stem. That is where the actual question goes. So under my little natural resources over here, I'm going to copy. So I'm going to use the hotkeys on my keyboard. I'm going to use Control-C to copy. I'm coming back to my question stem, and I'm going to do Control-V to paste that in. Now I know that I need, right up here, it tells me that I have to type the statement and surround the word with backticks. Backticks, that button is found on your keyboard up underneath your escape key in the top left-hand corner. So I know that geothermal energy uses heat from the earth. So I'm going to hit my space bar from, and I'm going to do one backtick. the earth, and I'm going to close it with a backtick and hit a space. So now this is where I will have a blank. So everything that's inside of the two backticks is a blank. And notice down here, the answer type. I can have open entry and tell it what I want it to match. If I want it to be close enough, if I want it to be the exact match, like for spelling. But my most favorite, notice I have other types, is drop down. So this is kind of like multiple choice, grading it for me, making it easy. I'm going to add the sun. I'll say from coal. I'm going to add one more oil. So I have some distractors there. We know the earth is the correct answer. Down below, if I want to align to outcome, so if I already have my standards imported into this course, I could align this to outcomes. I do not have that imported into this course, so I'm not going to allow that, align that to any of my outcomes. I'm not going to add any tags to this, and I'm just simply going to say done. So I now have my very first item in my natural resources bank. I'm going to add another item. It's going to also be fill in the blank. Going back to my quiz over here, and I have my next question. I'm using my hotkeys. Going back to my question stem. All right, and now I need to go over and take a look at my answer choices. And I see I have biomass and geothermal, the nuclear, or the hydroelectric. All right, so I'm coming over here and I'm going to say NA, and we know that the answer is backtick, nuclear, and backtick to close it up. Well, this time I'm going to say, well, let's use word bank because that one's different. And so nuclear is the right answer, or we may want it to be geothermal as a option. And then we said hydroelectric. And then the biomass, sorry. All right. And if just keep in mind, one of the things I like is that you can show on-screen calculators with individual problems. So if you are a math teacher or a teacher that uses lots of math within your teaching, you can turn on an on-screen calculator with individual questions and not over the entire test. And I'm going to say done. So as I see, I have this bank, and I'm going to add one more question type. So I'm going to go grab one that has an image. I'm going to grab one that has an image. So which are ways that we use fossil fuels? So I have copied that. I'm coming back over, and I'm going to just make this a true multiple choice question. Again, my question stem. Now, if I want to use this image and take this image and import it into my question, the one thing I can say, copy paste for images and Canvas quizzes do not get along. So a lot of times I use the snipping tool from my computer. and I snip the image. I'll save the image. Normally I save them in my OneDrive, and I have like a pictures folder that I use. And I'll call this one Natural Resources 1. And whenever I save those, now I can actually import this image from my OneDrive. And yes, I do wish that the copy paste feature worked a little better, but it doesn't, so I have to import it. If I want this font to be a little bigger for my students, I can also change the size of that. If I want it to be a 14, a little larger for students, maybe I have a visually impaired student, I can also make that larger. And so now I'm just going to actually just take these instead of typing them, and I'm just going to copy and paste them. Makes it easy. And we know that ways that which are ways that we use fossil fuels. We know Carson needs that answer. We use those a lot with fossil fuels. So notice I changed from my top answer being the correct one to the bottom one. This is where I can shuffle the choices. I can also shuffle answer choices in my quiz. So it doesn't necessarily have to be here, because remember, I'm just making a bank. This is a bank of natural resource questions that I can pull from. I won't have to use all of these questions. I can pick which ones I would like to use. So let's say that I covered natural resources yesterday in my class. Today, for my opener or my startup activity, I'm going to give them 3 of these questions just to see what they remembered from yesterday. So quick snapshot for me. Do they remember the things we talked about in class yesterday? What did they learn? How much do I have to, go over and review with them? So it's a great little snapshot for me to be able to say, okay, guys, we're going to come in, we're going to take this quick little quiz. Going to tell me a little bit about what you remember from yesterday. I may take the average of the week and give them that as 1 grade. Completely up to you, just some ideas. And then I'm going to say done. So now I have 3 items in my bank. To get out of this and to return back into my course, up top in the right-hand corner, I'm just going to say return. I don't see my bank there. You won't see it there. It's sitting over in the item bank. So now I want to talk about quizzes for just a second. You can build your quiz, you can build assignments, you can build from that tab. I'm a modules girl. I like to build from a module just because I like to keep everything very organized and all together. A lot of the teachers in my district will use weekly modules and use the header tabs for like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They said it just makes things easier for them. The kids easily know, okay, well, we're on week. If I'm a semester teacher, you have 18 weeks in 2 9-week periods. So I may be on week 15, for example, and it's currently Wednesday, so it would be Wednesday of that week 15. Well, I know next semester I'm going to have week 15 again. So it just kind of helps me keep it organized. Completely up to you, just a little tidbit there. So from the plus sign from my module, I'm going to actually build a quiz, and I'm going to create a quiz. And notice I get that option. I do want a new quiz. And I'm going to name that quiz Natural Resources. Right here, it lets me pick. Right here, it lets me pick my group. Keep in mind, assignment groups, if you import your Power School, Power Teacher Gradebook categories, your assignment groups are how that talks back and forth in the grade passback. So whenever you import your categories have what I call the sync icon beside them from assignments, and that tells you whether or not that category syncs to PowerSchool. So I just did some pretend ones here because I actually do not have a Power Teacher Gradebook, so I can't import that, but I just made some that kind of looks like I do. So this would be a quiz. It can also be classwork, because maybe I'm just going to use these 3 questions to see what they know from yesterday. So let's put it in classwork. And I'm going to say add item. So I have my natural resources quiz. I'm going to select it, and this is the build process. I like to grade on a 100-point scale. So I add the 100 points there. When I scroll down, I always leave it display grade as points. To me, I have found that that imports to the Power Teacher Gradebook much smoother than the percentages do. I'm going to leave that submission type alone because it's already saying it's going to be my quizzes .next or quizzes 2, whichever one, the new quizzes format. It's been called several different things, but it's already set for me. If I want to sync this to PowerSchool, I'd have this turned on. I'm not going to sync anything. My assigned to, keep in mind, I could take off everyone. My district sets everything up in PowerSchool that if I teach Math 2, let's say that for example, if I teach Math 2 and I'm a semester teacher and I teach Math 2 first block and third block, both my first and third block students would be in one course card for me. And if I wanted to separate out when they see this assignment and what times they see this assignment, I could just simply take off everyone, and I would see all of my different sections. I would pick my first block section, and I would say, when is it due for them? It becomes available at 8 a.m. because that's when our first block starts in this district. And maybe I say, okay, and it goes away at 8:45. So just in case I have a late student in the class, they would have the opportunity to come in and do this, and I'd see their snapshot, but I'd probably already be reviewing once I've got those scores in immediately. So this was just lets you open it and close it. I'd hit add. I'd come right on down. I'd add my third block, give them their due date, and I'd also go ahead and do that available from and until for their time for third block. So I'm just going to take that off so you can see. You can break down that if you teach multiple sections or have multiple sections in one course card. I'm going to give it a due date because I know that if I decide to sync this to PowerSchool, it has to have a due date. That's important. So I'm just giving it a due date for some time out. And I'm going to build. To build, I can simply select the item banks up top. I can search. Where am I going to search? I'm going to search in all banks for my natural resource. There it is, my natural resources bank. And I can add them all, or I can say, I want this one, this one, this one. I'm gonna go ahead and add all three. But if you had 25 there and you only wanted 5, you would just pick which ones you want, or you can say all random. Can I borrow from other people's banks in the district? Yes. So I'm gonna go back to item bank, and I saw the natural selection bank here. Notice someone else made that. I know that has nothing to do with natural resources, but if maybe I covered natural selection last week and I want to see what they remember. Is it okay to scramble that? Absolutely. They should know that information. They should know that information because it's already been taught. So I call that my 100% spiral review. Now, if I'm just seeing what they learned the day before and taking a quick snapshot, I wouldn't. But maybe I wanted to have 2 days a week that I opened with spiral review of previously taught information. If so, this is a great way to go in and borrow questions from the banks that are already made and add those in. And you would just simply hit your plus sign, add them in. You can add all the questions that are therein, completely up to you. Now, I can preview. This is how the students see it. This is what it looks like for my students. If you haven't seen these questions, here's that drop down. So that geothermal energy uses heat from, and notice it scrambled it for me, the earth. And then the next question was the word we said for the word bank, and where did it come from, what power plant, and they would click and drag. So word banks, click and drag, and then of course we have the multiple choice. So I'm going to exit this preview. Now I'm going to head over to my settings, and yes, this is just giving you a little information about your quiz after this is the same exact thing you would do if I just built and didn't use the bank. So here's where, of course, I can go in and say, shuffle those questions for my whole test, shuffle the answers for the whole test. Hey, if you have a lot of students with attention issues, give them one question at a time. Allow backtracking. Yeah, I want them to be able to go back and check over their work. If I want to give them a student access code, completely up to you. I could leave it as everyone and give them a password. Can I set a time limit? You can. My district doesn't allow filtering by IP addresses. Some districts do. You can allow a calculator, allow multiple attempts. Now, if this was just a classwork assignment, and I just wanted them to get in and complete this. Let's say that I said it's a time limit and the fire drill goes off and we have to exit the building and we're outside for way too long. Well, our time limit has ran out. This may save you to allow those multiple attempts. Restrict student result view. I love when Canvas added this because maybe I want to say, well, you know what? I want them to just show the student response. I don't want them to know whether they got something correct or incorrect. I just want them to see their items, their questions, and their response. I don't want them to know the view because I have seen students do screenshots, email them to their buddies because they get to see they get to see whether they were right or wrong or correct, incorrect, and they'll take the screenshot of their screen and send it to their boyfriend or girlfriend that's in the next block. Some of you probably shaking your head right now going, I've seen that. So don't allow them to see it. And they don't know if they got it right or wrong. Okay. So I'm going to say return. takes me back to my module where I see my quiz. Now, I want to actually go over to my quizzes tab and have a conversation about the quizzes tab. So from the quizzes tab, you notice I have some other quizzes here. So there's my natural resources quiz. There's my foggy figure, which is a reading comprehension quiz. And then I have my main idea quiz. If you notice, my rocket ships are a little bit different. I don't know how many of you have noticed this, but if you build a new quiz with the new quiz feature, your rocket ship is a dark bold black. If it is a classic quiz, the rocket ship is hollow, like it's white on the inside. It's not the dark black. So as I can see, this is a classic quiz. This is the new quiz. So I'm going to go back to my module. And I want to build, I'm going to say, you know what? I want a quiz. And I want that new quiz. I'm going to call this natural resources 2. So you can see me build from a quiz and add my questions to a bank. So natural resources, because remember I only had 3 questions over there. So this might be number 2, because this is day 2 of me teaching that. I'm going to say add that item. I've got to build it. I'll give it those points. Remember I said this was classwork. Give it that due date. It's going to be that next day. And now I need to build it. So from here, I'm going to just go ahead and start building. I'm going to say, okay, I want a multiple choice. So let me go over and take a look. All right, let's just take this question. I'm going to put it in the question stem. I'm just copying and pasting answers. That's all I'm doing. And I'm using my hotkeys on my keyboard. And thank goodness for answer keys as well. All right, the answer to this one was A. Well, you know what? I didn't build from the bank. I'm building from the quiz. But that's okay, because right down at the bottom of the question itself, I can decide if I want to item bank this. If I want to put this question in that item bank, so I want to add it to a bank. Is it an existing item bank? It is. And it is that natural resources bank. Well, there it is that I'd already built. And I'm going to add it. So now I have the little piggy over here that says he's in my bank. I'm going to add another question. I'll just go ahead and say multiple choice. And I'll go with 19 here. To my question stem. And I'm going to start putting in answers. Let me see what the answer was for 19. It's D. So it's all of these. And someone said, well, it's hard when you shuffle answers and you have all of these. And I said, well, it's all in the wording itself. You'll see how I changed that. And all of these was my choice, and I can say all of the choices are correct. And that is the answer. I can tell it to shuffle, and that's fine. All of the choices are correct. And I can say all of the answer choices. Let's make that even clearer. And it helps the students realize, okay, well, all of the answer choices for the question are correct. You can even say for the question if you want to. I'm going to item bank it. I'm going to add it to a bank. I'm going to add it. Oh, it already pulled that one for me because that's the one that I added the last question to. I'm going to say add. And now I see my little piggy in this in the bank. So I have these questions. I have them in my bank. I'm building straight from my quiz. I can go into the settings. I can go ahead and shuffle my questions, my answers. I'm building the bank while building my quiz. Love this feature with the new quizzes. Okay. So now we're going to go back. I'm going to go back over to the presentation. So we talked about the item banks and the new quiz format. We talked about that district item banks. Those are all those banks that you saw that you can share. You can borrow from any of those banks that are shared out through your district. And then we are now going to move on to the classic quiz question bank. So if you notice, there's lots of how-to videos with this one because this one has lots of different features and different things that you can do. So how do you create a question bank from the classic quiz? So using classic quiz is called actually a question bank. So that's the one we're going to start with. So I'm going to select return up top. I'm going to move back to quizzes or to my modules. And I'm going to add, and I'm going to add a new quiz. And I'm going to say create a quiz. And whenever I say create a quiz, I want to create a classic quiz. And I'm going to name this Natural Resources. Three. Put that in classwork. Okay. So right here, whenever I create this quiz, it does not give me the option to bank my quiz. I'm going to edit. This is that build format for the classic quiz. So it's graded, it's classwork. This is where I'd shuffle my answers. So I get a little more here. But what I want to do is I want to go up to the top and I want to look at the questions. I can pull from a bank. So notice this says view course question bank. Notice I do not have a natural resources bank. I cannot use the bank from the new quizzes in this quiz. Could I build this quiz, migrate it to the new quiz type, and then bank the questions? Absolutely. Absolutely. So let me go back to my questions. And I'm going to say, okay, let me add a new question. I'll leave it at multiple choice. That's fine. I'm just going to add one question. This one kind of makes it easy because you don't have the title versus the STEM. And this one was more expensive. And then what was that other one? So I'm going to say both. Yes, and more expensive. Okay. course, I'm not sure what that answer is. It is less than more. So this one is the correct answer. I need to trash this answer. And you have to hit update question on these. So update my question. So I'm going to save this. So I have my quiz here. It's been saved. I could add more questions to it. I can preview it. I'm going to head back over to my quizzes. Now, there's only one question in that quiz, but that's okay. I'm just doing this to show you how to migrate. So I have this quiz. Notice it's in the classic format. I can click on my ellipse, my hot dog menu, my caterpillar menu. Goodness, I've heard it called several things, but the three little dots. Three little dots at the end, migrate. When I migrate this quiz, it's going to migrate it to the new quiz format. It does take a few minutes, and then I can go into this quiz. It is. I can go to build. I can edit this question, and I can item bank it. Where am I going to item bank it to? My natural resources. And done. So just that simple. I can take that old classic quiz that I have, and I can migrate it to the new format. So here I have main idea quiz. Just take a look at my main idea quiz. I'm going to preview it. I can see that I have it set up as one question at a time. Rolling through those questions. Okay, I'm going to say keep editing this quiz just to go back to it. And then back to my quizzes. I want that main idea quiz. I want to migrate it. So I can migrate it and turn it into that new quiz format. And then I can make a question bank from that old quiz. Well, let's say that I really like the old classic quiz format for now. Every year, I think Canvas has said that they're going to get rid of classic quizzes. I hadn't seen it happen yet. So I'm just kind of sitting back holding my breath saying, we'll wait and see if it happens. But let's say that I have this main idea quiz, but I go and look in my question banks. I don't have that as a bank. So I'm going to go up to the ellipse in the top corner and manage question banks. I actually do have that one, but maybe I have another course. Let's do that. So this is my teaching course that I use when I'm teaching and training in my district. So maybe if I come over here and I take a look, maybe I have some quizzes that's not over in that other course, and I really want it. So I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to take a look and see, well, there's my cell division quiz. So I need that old classic quiz because I can see it's the old classic version because I can see the little white rocket ship. I need to take that and make a question bank for cell division over in my other course. That means I'm going to go all the way down and I'm going to settings. I want to export course content. I have a lot from this course, by the way. I want a quiz. I don't want all quizzes. I just want my cell division quiz, and I want to create that export. Shouldn't be long. It's only a six questions, and so there it is. There's my new export. I'm going to tell it where I want it to save. I have a certain place that I save all my course exports. And I exported it before. It's okay. So, created that export. I'm going to head back over to my dashboard. Because remember, I pulled that from this course because I need it in this course. A bank. I need the quiz too. So watch what happens. I'm going to go to settings. I'm going to go to import course content. And I'm going to pick QTI zip file, not a course export package. QTI zip file, right here where it says choose file. If you use Google Chrome and your downloads are sitting across the bottom of your screen, you can just click and drag and you get a little plus sign. And you can move your folder there. So select a question bank. So I need to create a new question bank. This question bank is going to be cell division. So do I want to import existing quizzes as new quizzes? I do not recommend to do this if I want to have the old classic quiz version and the old classic quiz version bank. If I want to have both. Remember, I can migrate that quiz after it creates and then go bank those items. So completely up to you. I'm going to say import. It's queued. I'm going to give it just a few minutes. There it goes running. So when I go back over here to quizzes, I have cell division. It created the quiz for me. Let's see if it created the bank for me. Of course it did. There's the bank. That's the old classic quiz bank. That's the old classic quiz version of the test. If I go back to quizzes, I'm going to migrate this from the 3 dots or the ellipse at the end. Anytime I migrate, it moves them to the bottom. Okay, so there's my quiz right here. That is the new version. What do? I go to build. And now I can go in and edit these questions. And it's quick, guys. Go to edit, item bank it, add it to a bank. Well, I don't have cell division. Uh-oh. I need to say new item bank, cell division, and add. All right, so now as I come down, say done. Come to my next one, edit. I need to bank it, add to bank, existing. Now I can find that cell division bank and add. Come down, say done. It's quick. You just add each question to your bank. Can I pull from this bank if I make another cell division test for a new quiz type? Yes. How about can I pull it from my old quiz type? Well, let's see. Let's make an old quiz type. So I want a classic quiz. I'm going to say cell division 2. I'm going to leave all of that just like it is. I'd come back and give it a due date. What did I forget to do? I do that quite often. I forgot to add my questions because I'm so used to making the new quiz type. I want to find questions. Now, when I go into find questions, I can say view course. There's my cell division bank. And I can say copy. I can move it to another bank, but I want to actually go back to my quiz questions. I want to find questions. And so cell division, and I want to select all. So this one just lets me view them. This one lets me select them. So you have to scroll through them all. Scroll to the bottom. If I want them in a group, meaning I want to shuffle my questions. Groups on old classic quizzes shuffle questions. So if I say, yep, I want to create a group, I need to say the group name. There's 6 questions. How many points per question? Right, 1 point. I want all 6 questions, and I can say sales. That's my group name. Create the group. Add the questions. Now it's going to scramble those. That means my number 1, the student beside me's number 1 are not the same. We just click a button in the new quizzes. In the old quiz format, you have to make a group to get those questions to scramble. Okay. I can go and preview this. I can see what they look like. This is what it looks like. I didn't tell it to do one by one, but it scrambles them up for me and it numbers them for me because that was left blank. So let's go back to our original slide. So we talked about the import, the export. That's how we created a question bank from a previous created quiz. That's your classic quiz. We talked about migrating. We also talked about how to create just a bank under the classic quiz format. So I'm going to head back. I would take questions now if we were live, but I'm going to head back up to those questions that I said, this is what we're going to be able to answer today. So why create item banks or question banks organization? Being able to use those questions over and over again, not reinventing the wheel. Now, next semester, I have all those banks ready, but also if I make that natural resources bank, my partner teacher across the hall that's teaching with me can go in and use that same bank because we're shared across our district. You can use spiral review. We talked about that. So I can go back and pull from other banks and put all those different questions on my quiz for spiral review. So we can do all of that within creating item banks and or question banks. Remember, with quizzes, images, you have to import those. It's not a copy and paste, or students won't be able to see them. You can see them, but not students. Also, the QTI zip is how you import and export. In the video that I shared, this one, it tells you to make sure you use the QTI import so you can have that bank. That is only for the classic quizzes. For the new quizzes, you can bank from the quiz or build a bank and import. So if you should have questions, this is actually me. You can feel free to contact me. That's my email. Please email me. If you have any questions about item banking or question banking, the new quiz format or the classic quiz format, I'll be more than happy to help. Have a great day.